Okay, so we are continuing our overall Chazara. We're holding Siman Tzaddik Seif Gimel. So Sif Aleph and Beis of Tzaddik, we learned the law of not by not, and the machlokes of the Machaber and Ramah as to what constitutes the leniency of not by not. The Shulchan Aruch took the view. In this book, it's going to be page Ayin. Yes. The Shulchan Aruch took the view that not bar not includes even if the parav was cooked in the item in question. So fish cooked in a fleshik dish. So it's meat to pan to fish. That's considered not bar not already. The Machaber, however, the Ramah, however, is of the view that that's not the leniency of not bar not. That, at least lechatchila, not b'diavad, but lechatchila, we would treat that as full original tam, not just nice and tam, not nice and bar tam, just nice and tam, and treat it as if it were fleshik. And not bar not is only if the fish was put on a meat plate, and then you can have it with milk, have it with cheese.
And the difference being that it's not clearish yet.
There's a difference being that it wasn't cooked in there. Even if it's a clearish, it wasn't cooked in there. The fish would be hot, even if the fish was hot as clearish.
Yeah,
and even if the plate was hot, let's have a look at it. I don't remember that. 1 second, a good point. Yeah, the fish is hot. Even if the fish was hot with kudusha and it was put onto a fleshik dish, it doesn't become fleshik. And that's the not bar not that the
Wait 1 second. Again, say it again. It was not cooked in the pot, it was cooked in the pot.
it was cooked in a par of pan and then put on a fleshik pot, or put on a fleshik plate.
Yeah.
It can still be eaten with cheese. And that's the not bar not that the Ramah says is lenient. But if it was cooked in the fleshik pan, he says the chatchila not to go ahead and eat it with cheese and treat it as if it was fleshik. Whereas the Machaber said, no problem, go ahead and eat it with milchik, not fleshik, eat it with milchik, because that's not bar not, even though it was cooked in the fleshik pan. That's the machlokes that we spoke about in Aleph and Beis. Another machlokes that comes up. Okay, it's going to be repeated now in Gimel, so we'll save that for now. Let's read. Kairei shel basar, fleshik plates, shahoduchu b'yorech eleves, that were now cleaned in a milchik. Yoda is like a big pot or cistern. So you're cleaning these dishes. The dishes have absorbed meat. There's no actual meat on it. So now you have the water in the middle. What's its status? Because the water on the one hand is absorbing fresh, positive flavor of milk from the pot, and it's absorbing fresh, positive flavor of meat from the dish that's just been dipped in there. It's very similar to the question of the ladle.
Yeah.
The ladle had 2 sets of dinim. One din was put into the opposite type, a milchik ladle into a fleshik pot. But here it's the milchik ladle in a fleshik, in a fleshik pot, but the soup is parav. Water. Water is parav in a milchik big pot, and a fleshik dish goes in. No substance of either milk or meat, it's only flavor. So what's the status of that water? Is it not bar not or not? Oh, so Machaber says, and in hot water, shayat this boy, and the water is hot enough that your hand recoils, so it's full on hot. Even though both the plate, which is fleshik, and the pot, which is milchik, are both ben yoiman, so they're both producing positive flavor, milk and meat respectively. Mutter is permissible. Because meat is kosher, dairy is kosher, and the water is absorbing second degree flavor of both. It went from meat to plate to water, and it went from milk to pot to water. And because it's second degree flavor, and transmits its kosher transmission, So therefore, everything is fine. Who? This is on condition, says the Shulchan Aruch. The person says, bodily, I am absolutely certain there was no residue of meat left on the plate.
Which is interesting because you're washing a plate.
Yeah.
But there's nothing on the plate. The plate has no
A residue of meat. Let's say you had pasta on the fleshik plate, but you know it was used for fleshik in the last 24 hours. Right now you're cleaning it off from pasta, let's say. Let's just say, but there's no residue of meat, right?
And maybe other residue, but not residue.
Correct.
I mean, you could have a hot dog on a plate and you eat the hot dog. There's no residue left.
There is. Definitely.
The oil.
Yep.
That's not.
Okay, that would be a problem.
If there's oil from what
hot
oil?
dog,
From the hot
hot dog.
That would be already meat.
That would
Yeah.
be meat.
That'd be meat.
Yeah.
No meat
That's
residue.
flavor.
You already washed it off. You used it
You
once for
already
hot.
rinsed it,
You
right?
used it once for a steak.
Yeah.
You rinsed it out, and now you had pasta, and now you're rinsing it out again.
Okay.
So the second time you're rinsing it out, it's only pasta. I'm doing it in this milk
I
like
understand.
pot. So even though you're cleaning something, but there's no residue of meat, which is why you have to be certain that it isn't there. Because if there's actual meat there, then the water is not absorbing second degree flavor. It's the first degree flavor of meat meeting with the milk coming from the pot. Okay. And therefore, if you did have residue of meat on your plate, then you have to have in the water 60 times the ratio of whatever residue of meat there is. Now here comes the machlekes that we already had earlier into the Daled with respect to the ladle. Namely, says the Rama, those are for prohibit. And they say, even if there's no residue, it's still prohibited. Why is that? Because they don't treat this as a nat bar nat. Specifically, they don't treat it as a nat bar nat deheteda. They don't treat it as a nat bar nat of permissible stuff. Because let's follow it. The Machaber said like this: the meat goes into the plate, milk goes into the pot. Now, from the pot and from the plate, that's first degree nut, and our second degree nut is when the milk and the meat go into the water, and it's permissible, even though right now they're mixing, but they reach there in a nut by nut situation while they're still permissible. Says the Ramah that this view says that no, sorry. Once they hit the milk, once they hit the water, they instantaneously become not kosher. It's not by not by not Teda. By the time you hit the second nut,
It's saying the water is not kosher, but the two things are still
correct.
okay.
But the second the flavor hits the water, the second nut is it's not Teda anymore. It's already prohibited. So it goes from meat to plate and milk to pot, and then it goes into water. When it goes into water, it's not kosher absorption. The second nut, which is from the plate and the pot into the water, it's a mixture. Usser. It's no longer not by not Teda. And then once this water is usser, it's mixed with milk and meat, it prohibits both the plate and the pot.
So you're saying the water becomes usher, then makes the plate and the pot
Correct.
usher.
So it's no longer not by not, Teda. It's not a permissible not by not, because when you get to the second nut, right?
Yeah.
The first nut is fine because it's going from the meat into the plate. But as soon as the water, the flavor leaves the plate and goes into the water, you can't call that second flavor transference as heter.
Especially only if one of them is ben yaimai.
We're assuming now both of them are ben yaimai.
Pardon?
We're assuming right now both of them are ben
Both of
yaimai.
them.
The Machaber said even if both are ben yaimai, it's fine
Yeah.
because it's two kosher not bar nuts. And they meet only after they're not bar nut, as Machaber saying. And then Ramah saying they actually don't meet after they're not bar nut. They meet in the second nut. In the second night time. They meet already. So by the time you get to flavor degree number 2, it's no longer permissible. It's treif. It's a mixture of milk and meat, and therefore will prohibit the plate and the pan and the pot respectively.
Right. So it wants another knot. It wants basically to take that water from the dairy pot and pour it into a parve pot. You said that another
Or as we'll see, we'll get through the cases which are lenient. Let's see. Elam Kain unless says the Machab says the Ramah Echem Kalim, one of the two dishes, one of the two vessels, either the fleshik dish or the milchik pot. Einam ben yomim b'lis kedusha. They aren't fresh in their absorptions over 24 hours since it absorbed either milk or meat. So now, when they meet, they're not meeting at a prohibited fashion because they're meeting in a detrimental flavor fashion. And detrimental flavor mixing, so it means in their mixing is detrimental.
Yeah.
They don't need to both be.
No.
They just need to be in the mixture. They're detrimental. So as long as one is detrimental flavor, one is levgam. So when they meet, they're not meeting under prohibited circumstances. They never had a chance to become prohibited. In the first case, when both of them are ben yoimai, says the Rama, when they both meet in the water, so before they even finish their second knot, they become treif. Well, if one of them is not ben yoimai, then they don't have that chance because they only become not kosher if they're both positive in their meeting. Clear? You with me? Kind of. Where you at? Tell me where you're at.
You're basically if
They're
a positive
both
and
not
positive is a
Ben-Yomo?
positive, and a positive or negative makes a negative.
No, even one
One is Ben Yomo.
ben yoimai. So you have fresh milk flavor coming from the pot. You have negative flavor coming from the meat.
You don't have a problem.
They only meet at the water.
Yeah.
Right? Now, when they're meeting at the water, did they become treif?
Why not?
Because one of the flavors is negative.
Okay. And
That's what I'm saying.
is this the
That's not
second
a
case?
mixture of
So this is the
flavors.
case here where they're permitted. So now that both the pan and the plate are okay, both the pot and the plate are okay. Because at no point was there treif water infecting either of them. Because when the milk and meat met, one of them was not positive flavor, either coming from the milk from the pot or from the meat from the plate. And therefore, therefore all the vessels are permitted. But the water, it isn't actually prohibited because again, the mixture is a negative flavor, and therefore we cannot say that the water itself is a mixture of milk and meat because it's a negative flavor of one at least. They're not meeting under positive circumstances. Yeah, they're meeting under negative circumstances. At least one's coming with a bad attitude, right? So, right, it ruins the meeting already. Even one's in a bad attitude. You don't have to have both in a bad attitude. One person shows a bad attitude, it's already a bad meeting. Yeah, okay, it's a joke. So the water should be okay, but nonetheless, we are noyeg to be lechatchila, not to maintain the status of the water being parva, not to mix it with milk or meat. Well, certainly not with the opposite of the one who is.
Again, because it's something that shouldn't have been done.
Because as we learned, we don't do noishim tam levgam lechatchila. Right? We don't just because you haven't used your fleshik pot in 2 days. You're going to make a French onion soup in there with cheese?
Right,
No, even though if you did, it's not going to be treif because you don't do noishim tam levgam lechatchila. Right? So this water has noishim tam levgam. So lechatchila, you shouldn't use it for either milk or meat. That's all. Even though be'etzim, it's not really treif.
Right.
As I said, right.
Yeah. So it's only
that. Oh yeah. No, it's like,
but avaba, he goes back to the original case. And if they are both fresh flavor, now he has another condition. They're both cleaned at the same time in a pot. So it's a little bit of a new case now. It's the same as the first case, but different circumstance. The first case was meat pot,
Dairy pot, meat.
dairy pot, meat dish. Now he's saying part of a pot,
And meat
and dairy dish inside. They're both ben yoimon, right? They're both fresh flavor. They both used them an hour ago. And and they're both cleaned in the same water that is hot al kedushin. Yeah. So what would the Machaber say? There's no substance of milk or meat.
Doesn't say that barnat.
Not
He
barnat.
did
He was
fine.
not the Machaber would say not barnat.
For sure.
The meat to dish to water, milk to plate to water.
It's good.
It's fine. It's not barnat of heter all the way through.
Yeah.
But says there are everything
There's
is
two positives
prohibited.
going in there.
There's two positives going in there. So when they meet at their second knot, they're meeting under positive flavor that becomes treif at that point. So it's no longer not banat
That's
heter.
only if they're going in the pot at the same time.
but yeah,
Oh,
maybe
he's gonna say that in a second.
If you're doing one and then the other, that
He's
would
gonna say that in a second. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, wait.
maybe there's
So now everything's forbidden.
So everything's forbidden.
Even the pot the water, the pot, and the 2 dishes.
Yes, the pot would also the part of a pot would now be treif also. Because the water is-
and the 2 dishes.
Everything is.
This is
All-
only if you dump them both at the same
But
time.
was that different than the first case?
No, the difference is we added a third pot this time.
Yeah.
The first time was,
Okay,
in
but
principle, it's the same.
The result.
Yeah.
Is the same.
and it's the same thing we had in Tzaddik Daled about a milchik ladle
Right.
going into a pile of soup that's been cooked in a fleshik dish.
Right.
Same thing.
Same, all the same result.
Correct.
Yeah.
So again, and this is indeed our custom to follow this practice. One shouldn't
It's
change.
just like saying it different ways, right?
Correct. All the different scenarios in
But
which this
now
can
it's
happen.
gonna
Change it different ways.
But now it's going to change if you dump one and then dump the
Oh,
other.
let's see now a second.
That's not saying-
So again, this is our custom to be stringent. One shouldn't change this practice, even in the post factum.
Yeah.
To treat it usher. The dafkin specifically, as you mentioned, condition number one, they were actually washed together at the same time. And the water that is being washed in is a klirushin.
Mhm.
And then
Then it would be
Avalbat,
allowed?
then it would be prohibited because they're both at the same time in klirushin.
What, if one was washed one after another? it's
No, not yet, not yet, not yet,
That's
not
the
yet.
next case that we're doing.
But if they were washed one after the other, one after the other, the klisheni, or if they're cleaning it in a pot that's a klisheni, hakal shorta, everything's okay. Because first of all, we already looked at Rama is more lenient when it comes to klisheni.
Yeah.
Even though the Marshal was more machmir. But even in this case, then
Even if it's
because
Sean, it's a not by not situation.
well, no, not according to Rama, it's not banat. It's not
Yeah,
banat.
it's if it's one and the other, because you're doing.
No. So either it's one after the other, then it's for sure fine.
Yeah,
Or both together in klisheni.
yeah,
Why is one?
Not one after the other.
Okay.
Sorry?
because it's a full not by not.
Because at no point did the milk and meat hit together before not banat.
Uh-huh.
Let's remember.
So you put the meat in,
Okay, so now what happened?
the water
The wa-
becomes meat,
The water becomes meat, yes.
the dairy in, and the water becomes dairy, but it doesn't.
When did it meet the dairy? When did it meet the meat?
There was no meat in the water.
When did it meet the meat flavor? Second degree flavor.
After it left the dairy plate.
Okay, so from meat
Point out.
to plate
Yeah.
to water.
That's not by not.
That's second degree. The
Yeah.
only reason why he was stringent in the first case is because the milk and meat met the instant they entered into second knot. So
Okay.
you never had not banat of heter, because in the second knot they were usser, but in this case you do have not banat of heter, because the meat went from meat to dish to water. It's totally heter,
Yeah.
and not banat of heter is irrelevant. It's only not banat of isser that we're worried about,
Okay.
and only because we're treating it the second knot as a isser because they met at the same time. Yeah. Okay.
And, are we ignoring it like batal b'shishim, or is this just doesn't matter?
Say again.
Like, is this all just ignoring batal b'shishim?
Yes, if there's multiple shishim, you don't need any of this issue.
No. That's like
It's
most,
assuming
I think most of our cases,
assuming it's no multiple shishim. Yes, correct.
most of our cases could be solved by Batal B'Shishim.
Assuming you have that correct. Okay, so now in cliche, also it's sorry. What?
Almost.
Only things that are royal scandal. Otherwise, everything.
In this case, it's there's no mamashas at all.
No, there's no washes at all. So
Even with
everything
mamashas,
is-
you be batal b'shishim. Even with mamashas, you could be batal b'shishim. But certainly here, it's only a question of bliya. Okay. So
It
now,
still could be, according to the Ramah, in this case that he's saying, if it'll be Vatal B'Shishim, it won't be a problem.
correct. Okay.
Please.
If you're offering, I'll take seltzer. Actually, thank you. All right. So two leniencies. A, if it was done one after the other. They never had a not banat of Isser, the not banat was of Heter. And number two, if it's in a klisheni, then the klisheni isn't strong enough to extract flavor from one plate and then make it go into the next plate. Okay. Likewise, you poured part of a hot water out of a fleshik pot, al kli chalav, onto a dairy plate. So there's an unbroken stream going from a meat pot to a dairy plate. Dinoin kekli rishon, we treat that water as if it's floating between two dishes in a kli rishon, and therefore it's simultaneously absorbing from both the meat on top in the pot from which it's being poured out of, and from the milk on bottom onto which it's being poured. Yeah, and therefore the oyster, it will prohibit the milk dish on the bottom at least kedei klipa.
But that's assuming one's on top of the other, right?
Well, it is. You're pouring.
But they could be side by side,
Well, would it be? Oh no, he's talking about a string like this where it's poured,
but the dishes are one on top of another.
not touching each other.
No, one on top of another. They could be on.
No. There's a milk. No. Two dishes. Milk here, and I'm pouring from the hot fleshik urn. Im ider me kli rishon shel basar al kli chalav.
Oh, but, mine- Shame.
Well, you're jumping ahead.
You.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. V'im ira me kli rishon shel basar al kli chalav. Yeah. So there's a unbroken stream of water going from a fleshik urn on top to a milchik dish on bottom. So it's the milk and meat is absorbing simultaneously into that water. Now the prohibition is not going to travel upward, but it will travel downward into the fleshik dish, into the milky dish. And it's not barnat because there's no broken stream. If it was a broken stream, it would be not barnat according to the law. It would go.
Right.
It would be urn to water, it would be klisheni, but it would also go urn to water to dish. Here, because it's unbroken stream, the water is serving as a conduit to make the meat flavor, the water and the milk flavor on the bottom interact, and at least they clip by the dairy plate in the bottom is prohibited.
It's a positive meat flavor because it's
Correct.
clean rishon from the urn, from the fleshik, urn.
Right.
So it's positive fleshik onto a dairy,
Correct.
onto milk.
Correct. And now, imaya ben yoimoy again, if
Only if it's not, if it's a broken stream, it's not a problem.
it's not a broken, yeah,
So that's
correct,
considered a klisheni. Broken stream is considered, has the same deal as a
Correct.
klisheni.
Right.
correct.
That's the only reason why it's okay, but unbroken is clear rishon.
Correct.
As we learned before.
Okay, so ben yoimoy only if the flavor is positive because it was used in the last 24 hours. But you're pouring par of water out of a par of pot. It's neither meat nor milk. And you're pouring it al kelim shabasa b'chalav that are b'yachad together. You're pouring on top of meat and dairy dishes. So that would be like you accidentally washed your dishes in the same sink. Even if you have,
No, it wouldn't be the same as washing it in the sink.
why not?
Because it has to be pouring. It's not.
That's
That's pouring. You're pouring out of a tap.
Pouring out of your
Yeah,
tap.
and it's going down the drain.
Correct.
No,
Noon.
it's going on the dishes.
It's going on to the dishes.
Right.
You're
But
pouring
it's
hot
not
water
like
onto both
it's-
dishes.
It's not like washing in a sink. Washing in a sink is you fill the water with.
No, oh, okay. So if you fill the sink with water, it'd be something else. But you don't necessarily fill the sink with
No.
water when you clean your sink. Maybe.
When you're cleaning dishes in your sink, you fill your whole sink up with water.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Fill the sink with water and you wash the dishes and
And you drain it.
then they drain the water and you wash off the dishes.
Oh no, that's not.
To-
Usually, I just get the water run out
Yeah,
as it's. I don't know let
exactly.
the sink fill up. But you'd be
Yeah.
right. If you fill the sink up, it'd be a different story. Assuming you're not filling the sink up,
Right. So anyway, it's flowing water.
it's flowing water pouring on top of your dishes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Not stopping water.
that's correct.
Yeah.
But even if you have residue behind of the milk and the meat,
Obviously, one's not on top of the other. In that case,
it wouldn't matter.
how could that not matter?
Why would it matter?
Because then the meat would be coming from the meat plate
Yes.
onto the milk plate.
And therefore,
There's no
what's
dairy.
making the dairy plate absorb the meat?
The hot water.
So you have to have an irui strong enough to extract flavor from that shuman and put it into the other one.
Do?
They don't. It's not called sharik. It's not strong enough.
Boiling water.
It's not the ain irui klidushin mamish. The ain irui klidushin mamish. Pouring out hot water is not like mamish klidushin. So yasha shakel ma'aram yivu zamizeh. To make plates absorb one from the other.
Meaning it's a broken stream?
No,
So why isn't it?
it's not transferring flavor. It's
Why isn't
the
it
bro-
mamish klirishin?
the unbroken stream is irrelevant
But why isn't it mamish klirishin?
because it isn't in a klidushin,
It's pouring boiling water.
and therefore
But if it's not a broken stream.
you
it's
have to make
klirishin.
it strong enough that it's going to make the milchik plate absorb from the residue that's in the fleshik plate.
Okay, well,
It's not-
klirishin would do that.
Because it would be inside the water.
Mhm.
It would be inside the water on a klidushin would be inside the water on a fire or right off the fire. Here you're pouring hot water on top of it. It's not strong enough. Even though we treat either like a klidushin that we're saying it's going to transfer flavor from the keli on top to the keli on bottom. Here the keli on top is part of sorry,
Yeah, the water's
The keli on top is not part.
the keli on top is part of. You're pouring hot
Water is part.
from a non-dairy from a part of source
And two utensils of meat and of milk.
Yeah.
under it.
Correct. So there.
Correct. So there's no heat coming from any fleshik or milchik. It's meat coming from part of iroi that's supposed to make the dishes on the bottom hot enough to extract and absorb.
But let's
No.
say the.
It's not going to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The first dish has meat on it. That's
And
what
therefore,
I'm saying. And that meat now is dripping off of the first plate.
it's not a clear shine.
But that's a klisheni.
That dish is not a clear shine.
But if it's a.
The water that's clear rishon is hitting that plate, but that water.
That's what he's saying.
That plate is not.
Even though we treat clear rishon, even though we treat iroi as if it was a clear rishon, that we say it's strong enough to make extraction of flavor go from the source from which it's coming to where it's going. Here, it's not bringing flavor from where it's going. From where it's going is part of.
Yeah.
You're making it take flavor from here to here. That's as almost too much. We're not going to take either to be Kedushin so far. If the two pots, if the plates were inside a Kedushin, that would have enough power. But the Eatery, that's what, read the words. The ain Eatery Kedushin mamish sheyasa shakelish ma'alim yerevu b'zeh b'zeh. A Kedushin, not a Eatery, is not as strong as a Kedushin to the point that it makes one pot absorb from another, even though a literal Kedushin would.
Quick question about the last case.
Yeah.
What's it called? The urn, the flesh urn that was poured, does it have to be used within the last 24 hours, or even if it was wasn't used within the last 24 hours? And
It have to both have to be in the previous case, yes.
Oh, if it wasn't used within the last 24
Then it's
hours.
negative flavor mixing.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's finish
Shach
this.
says the Mechaber would have a problem with that.
The Shach says,
That the Mechaber would have.
which case?
The case of pouring from par of hot water, boiling water, onto a dish, fleshik and.
No, not because the Shach. The Shach himself disagrees. Yes, not because this doesn't say that's the opinion of the Machaber. He just says he disagrees because he's of the view, right? B'chlal, the Ramah was more correct. The Ramah himself, B'chlal, was more makel by Klisheni, correct? So everything got taken down one notch. The Shach went them with the Marshal and put everything up one notch.
Right.
He made Klisheni capable of extracting flavor, right?
Oh,
So if you make Klisheni capable of extracting flavor, you might apply the same standard to an eatery.
because this is technically
Yeah.
it's like a broken string.
And therefore, if you have residue, he would say it's problematic.
But you want to say that what came off the first plate onto the second plate is already cliche.
100%.
Even if you say the first plate
Correct.
is
The
cliche.
first plate is not Klisheni.
Even if you said.
It's not. Unless you treat Klisheni like a Klisheni.
But no, but
Like the
you
Marshal.
treat a stream that's continuous as cliche. So it's touching.
Right, but even if you treat a stream as if it's clear shine, that's only in terms of relationship between the stream starting point and this plate, not in terms of when it goes from here to the next plate.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So
Right.
that the next plate is already cliche.
Exactly. But again, the shach is like the marshal, which is more machmir by klicheni.
Right.
All right. Let's keep going. Just b'chlal. In nimtza kederach haleves, kairach haleves ben liba. So you find a milk dish in your fleisha cabinet. We don't have to assume that it was cleaned in a prohibited fashion. Okay, valid. Sorry.
This is a problem that everybody has.
Yes, people ask me all.
They find the utensil.
People ask me all the time.
Fork in the milk drawer.
Clear din, you can be makel. Get this question all the time. I found the wrong fork. The cleaning lady for sure. Don't worry. Move the fork over to the drawer. Everything's fine.
There would be no reason to be strict.
People usually clean it again, though.
Correct.
Otherwise, we have
Go for
the cutlery graveyard.
Sorry.
The cutlery graveyard. A lot of people have a
Cutlery graveyard?
What can you
That's
do
put
if
it
they're all mixed
aside.
up?
You put it aside until you can kosher it,
Till Pesach comes around.
whatever.
Most of the time, you don't even need to. Okay,
I understand.
now let's go forward.
Yeah.
To at least finish the Siman tonight.
We're retiring the cutlery.
I don't know if it's a dairy or meat fork, could you do something with it? Could you put it in-
Say again.
If you have a fork, it doesn't have an identifier, it could be meat, it could be dairy, could you put it either way?
That's a good question. That would be similar, I think, to the case where the mechaber is said to be strict when you have a pot that was never used before,
Right.
and you dipped in one ladle and you dipped in the other ladle because you haven't assigned it. You should kosherize it and assign it again. Maybe the same would apply there, but not because inherently it's problematic, but because of the question of your assignment. Right? That we learned that by the okay. Siv
Only
Dalet.
use it for fire.
Hmm?
Could only use it for
Yeah.
fire. Okay.
Now here comes the din of soap, otherwise known as ash. Lee says the mechaber. It seems to me if one put ash, which is this cleaning agency back in the day, into your hot water in which you are cooking cleaning the plates, and in the mechaber scenario, this big pot, this big cistern, I don't want to call it, is dairy, and you put ash into it. Before you put the flesh plates into them, in them in order to clean them. And even though you have residue of meat on those plates, says the mechaber, even though before I said it was problematic, because before I said it's not anymore. You have actual pieces of meat there. You have actual residue of meat mixing into the water, which absorbed from the milk that was in the pot. But in this case, because in that mixture, you have an agency that destroys flavor, mutter is permitted. Thanks to the ash that's there, all the flavors are negative. The milk flavor that's coming out of the dairy cleaning pot and the flavor or whatever comes off of that residue of meat is all negative flavor and therefore not a problem. However, as we already learned, there are those that disagree, considering that it's not as this is an external agent that's causing detrimental. The leniency of detrimental, one could argue, and some do argue, is only when the food itself went sour because you left it over for 24 hours. Not the food, the flavor. But having an external agent count as destroying food, say others, CHAZZARAH, no, we disagree. It's probably in your notes over there. Yeah, they have CHAZZARAH on the side there that say that. And because in theory, you can extract the two flavors. You can separate between, if you want to get like microscopic, you can separate between the ash and the flavor, which will remain positive because it isn't inherently negative flavor. It's only absorbed or interacting with something else that's causing it to be negative. Okay. But nonetheless, as we learned from many of the modern halachic authorities, they use this idea to combine with other ideas to make other things permitted. Right? We learned about that with regard to modern dishwashers, and there are various different opinions about that. Okay, Sif Hey. Bottom line is
gives them a kick in the teeth.
Sorry?
Shach gives them a kick in the teeth.
Yes, Shach disagrees. But nonetheless, it's still used in many cases for leniencies. It certainly has a combination with other leniencies.
Just tangentially, people used ashes to wash their lye.
I don't know.
Lye. What's ashes? Why ashes?
No idea. No idea.
Something that you would
maybe a certain kind of ash. I have no idea.
Sure, ashes is like harder to work with than lye.
I don't know what lye is.
Lye is like soap. Before soap, it was lye.
I have no idea.
LYE.
Okay, hey. One should not leave a bowl that has in it this milchik spread, this dairy butter-based spread. Eitzel klishish b'melach shouldn't be left on the table or anywhere near a bowl with salt in it, because we're afraid that when you dip into the into your kutach, some of it will spill over into your salt. Sorry?
Lye is made through ashes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Then it is lye.
You soak ashes with water and
Shkoyach
it's a
Noah.
mixture of ash wood and water.
Shkoyach Noah. So now we know what it is.
Now we know.
All right. So don't have your kutach near your salt bowl, because some of the kutach might spill over into your salt bowl. And when you sprinkle your salt on meat, you're going to be sprinkling kutach, which is dairy. You could leave your kutach near your vinegar, even though maybe some of the kutach is going to sprinkle into the vinegar, but the tiny amount that sprinkles into the vinegar will be nullified within the liquid of vinegar, but it will not be nullified in the crushed salt. Continues in Ramah. Nonetheless, even though one should be stringent, if you did go ahead and leave these two things next to each other, your kutach and your salt bowl, mutter, your salt still remains kosher. You don't need to be so concerned that there's actually some kutach in there. Don't do it to begin with, but post factum, it's all good. I'm sorry, I missed an important line for the Ramah. The dafka makel bagulin, specifically if they're open. Sorry?
The lye you're thinking of was invented in 1790. The original lye.
What in 1790?
The lye you're thinking of was invented in 1790.
Invented.
And the Shulchan Aruch is written in 14 something.
Really?
Like potash.
The Shulchan Aruch is written.
It's Babylonia. In Babylonia, lye. The original lye was discovered in Babylonia.
When?
In the original 2800.
1790 BC.
BC.
Oh, so it wasn't
2800. No, the lye he's thinking of is in 1790.
Of
Modern
era,
lye.
which is way after.
That's the
Shulchan Aruch.
that's the soapy lye.
The Shulchan Aruch is.
Ashy lye was invented in Babylonia in 2800 BC.
There you go. Okay, the Shulchan Aruch somewhere middle there.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so that's sorry, I missed an important line for the Ramah. That they're both specific. The entire prohibition of putting the kutach and the salt next to each other is when they're both uncovered. If they're covered, no problem, and therefore you can have your containers in your fridge, even though there's yogurt next to a package of chicken. Both covered.
They're both covered.
Yes. All right. Sivov. Mutter litin b'toich. That's actually the next halacha. Mutter litin b'toich teva card shal basar tzlakat shal chalav. In your cabinet, you can put a jug of meat and a jug of milk next to each other, even if they're open, even if they're right near each other, and we're not worried one's going to splash into the other. People are careful about this. It says there are those that are stringent in the first case. If they're open, if they're covered, we're not worried. But if they're open, some people are stringent in the first instance. The Tov Lizar, it's good to be careful. In the first instance, in such as places where you have no need to leave them next to each other and uncovered. Zion, we can conclude the Siman, and maybe we could even start Tzadik Vav. Sorry, Siv Zayin, yes. Melach, anasim b'kar shel basar. Salt that's in a meatball.
Mhm.
You can sprinkle that salt onto milk because salt does not have the property of absorbing flavor and extracting it from the plate that it's in. Haga says there, someone who wants to be stringent here too. Tavila bracha, good for you. Blessings upon you if you decide to be stringent. Because there are those who are stringent in the first instance, and largely because they're worried that the bowl wasn't perfectly clean of the meat that was used for it before.
So generally, we have a salt shaker that's milk.
Salt shaker is different because salt shaker absorbs
For
steam.
sure, what do you mean?
Salt shaker is different because of steam. You're pouring on top.
Okay.
But this is a bowl of salt. There's no issue of steam ever getting in there. So your salt shaker, you might have a bit different story. We'll get to steam when we get to Taruvish. We're going to talk about steam as well. And the Chesed thing, steam's going to come up. We'll talk about ketchup bottles also. Like, pouring ketchup on hot dogs and then pouring ketchup on top of pizza.
I already found out in the office.
Yeah, there are people who are very stringent about it. Some are less. We'll get into all
I
that.
was told that was
Okay, but not now. Sorry.
I was told 100% it's not allowed.
Okay, we'll get to it.
To use a common ketchup bottle.
We will get to it.
Huh?
By him.
By
or
him.
By somebody else.
No,
also.
by him.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
What? The ketchup you put on the pizza, then you put it on the hot dog, right away.
All right, we'll get to it. Siman to the Zayin, Din Michael Chov Shenechta Pesach and Shabboser. The law of spicy food or sharp food that's cut with a meat knife. We have in it 5 subsections. So the premise of this whole entire siman is something we've already touched upon in the previous siman, but in the previous siman we touched upon it with regard to heat, namely this idea that sharp flavor has the capacity to exasperate.
Reawaken.
We had actually both regards. We had the fact that sharp has the capacity to reawaken positive flavor, like not bar not. I'm sorry, like not bar not and doesn't done with gum. It can reawaken and positify the flavor because it's sharp. It's one thing we had. The other thing that we had, which I was thinking about before, is the pressure of the knife. And that the pressure of a knife has the capacity to cause absorption of flavor at a higher rate than it would without the pressure of a knife. But the pressure of the knife itself won't do it. The pressure of the knife, what it will do is it will leave behind some residue that it has itself on its own surface. That it will do. But to cause absorption at a greater rate, it has to have some other agent. So in the previous siman, we learned about pressure of a knife and heat. So you're cutting a hot steak with a knife. And the knife is milchik. So we had the machlokes, the machaber, and the ramah. Do you go only by a thumb thing, or do you go the whole way, or the chatchila b'diavad? Right? Now we're going to talk about the sharp plus knife. Knife plus sharp, and to what degree of absorption does that happen? It's definitely greater than usual.
Without heat.
No heat. The only heat is in its flavor, not actual heat of degrees. But there's a way of measuring flavor heat also. What's it called?
Measuring the sharpness.
No, when you buy those hot peppers, they give you a count as to how hot it is.
The scale.
There's a term.
Yeah.
There's a term for it. So it's only that kind of heat, not the degree.
Scale.
There is a scale for it, yes, but it's not that kind of heat that's here. All right, so let's read them. The original case. Sorry? The Scoville level. I say pronounce it Scoville.
Scoville.
Scoville. No, there's probably a better way of pronouncing it.
No, there's another way. It doesn't sound right.
That's the right spelling.
At any rate, okay. So the original case of the Gemara is Tsnoin Oy Silka. Tsnoin we translated as radish. Silka we weren't sure, but something like charred. Yeah. So these are sharp by nature. Shachatcham besak and shabasa. They've been cut with a fleshik knife. Ben yoimoy, and the knife has been used in the last 24 hours for meat. Oy or she'ena makonach, or if it wasn't cleaned, even if it hasn't been used in the last 24 hours, so it's got actual residue of meat there. Then you cannot eat those radish or that silka with milk unless you take off a thumb the thickness of a finger from the point of where it was cut. But then you can eat the rest of the radish. So absorption goes according to the mechaber kedenetila, which is a finger width. Or shiitamenu, or you have a non-Jew taste it. Again, the machabers of the view, we learned this way back when, that the machabers of the view that you can rely on a non-Jew to taste the flavoring. and to determine whether the flavor exists, or actually, in this case, you can actually have a Jew taste it because it's not milchik, it's fleishik, it's not treif. So long as you have a Jew who is not intending to eat any milk, you can eat it plain, taste it, and see if it tastes like flesh. And if it doesn't, enjoy gesundheit with milk according to the Machaber. And he determines as he tastes it, there's no flavor of meat. Then all you need to do is wash it off, just in case there was some residue from the knife that's all stuck to the radish. So wash it off, and you're good. That's one opinion. 1 point. Now, this point was if the knife was used within the last 24 hours. However, there are those that say that even if the knife is perfectly clean, and even if the knife has not been used in the last 24 hours, because you have sharp food, this opinion is that sharp food not only causes absorption to go more than usual, because usually contact at cold doesn't have any absorption, but here the contact at cold, because there's the pressure of a knife plus the sharp food, is going, according to the Machaber at least, going to the width of a finger. In addition to that, says the Machaber, says this view, sharp has the capacity to reawaken the negative flavor. And therefore, even if the knife hasn't been used in the last 24 hours, and the meat flavor coming off here is ordinarily a negative one, because it's going into a sharp food, it's going to become a positive one. And therefore, don't have it with cheese. Clear? Or did I just rap and talk too fast? Can you with me? Kind of, what?
Kind of.
Okay, so machlokes. Yeah, Machaber's of the view that pressure of knife plus sharp equals absorption of a finger width.
Okay.
Opinion A, that's only true if the knife is ben yoimai. Opinion B, even if it's not ben yoimai. Why? Because sharp not only has the capacity to create more absorption that it wouldn't do otherwise, it also has the capacity to reawaken flavor. All right.
Nothing to do with heat though. This
And
is
what
like
is
just
your opinion?
Only skivili heat, whatever that word is.
Oh,
No actual heat. Sorry?
Who are the
Scope.
opinions? Just the
I don't remember. When we looked at the first time, I told you who it was. I don't remember now. Let's go back to the old classes. I'm sure I'll tell you the
only
names.
Scoville heat.
Don't remember. Okay.
No, that's
Furthermore, continues the Rama, ve'im loy natal mehem k'denes tzilas makom. So let's say you did not remove the required finger width from the radish, and you didn't taste it, so you have no idea if there was meat flavor there or not. And then you went ahead and cooked all those radish with milk. So how much did it nullify? Says the Machaber tzarich shishim keneged mashnagam ma'asakim behem. You only need to nullify just the surface of, you only need to nullify the amount of volume of the knife, of the part of the knife that interacted with the radish. And that's the max absorption. The radish cannot absorb more than what the knife contains. It cannot absorb more than what the knife interacted with it. So if only the bottom centimeter of the knife cut the radish, then all you need to do is nullify by 60 to the ratio the size of a centimeter of the knife.
Well, why wouldn't it be 60 the milk? Why wouldn't it be 60 according
You're
to the
cooking it into a
not
milk.
according to the-
You're cooking it in a milk dish.
Yeah.
It was cut with a fleshik knife.
Correct.
So you only need to nullify, the milk has to nullify.
Oh, no, but
The
you
amount
said
of the knife.
according to the beef, you said, no, that's according to the milk. The 60 is not the beef, the 60 is.
No, I'm sorry. The 60 is not in not in the radish. It's in the milk that the radish is being cooked into. But the point is, yes, correct, yes. Correct. Yes, my apologies. Correct. In the milk. But it does not have to, you don't have to nullify the entirety of the thumb. Even though he told you before you should remove the thumb, you should remove the finger amount.
Right.
But you don't need to nullify that finger amount.
No. Right.
Right? Because you don't need to nullify that which is absorbed of milk. You only need to you don't need to nullify that which is absorbed of meat. You only need to nullify the meat.
Right.
And the meat flavor is only to the size of the part of the nut that interacted with the radish.
The blade of the, or whatever part.
Correct.
The beef,
Whichever part touched the radish.
the radish.
Whichever part of that touched the radish. If you know for sure, you're saying, I know that I only use this amount.
But can you assume after you cut a certain amount that it would stop giving off?
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yes, the Machaber, we mentioned that later. Then the same applies as the Machaber. If you cut radish with a non-Jewish knife. Now, the non-Jewish knife is not a question of absorbing kosher. The first case was you used a fleshik knife to cut these radish. And now you cook the radish in milk. So everything was kosher until they interacted with each other.
Correct.
Which means, according to the Machaber, is there any chanan happening here?
No.
No.
Because chanan only happens according to the machaber in milk and meat.
When they're cooked
Or when milk and meat come together, there's chanan.
for cooking.
What do you mean for cooking? When the absorption comes together, either by
Yeah,
exactly,
I'm
or any, when the flavor comes together,
Yeah.
right? But here, the radish absorbed milk. The radish the radish absorbed meat. It didn't become a flakeshake radish. I don't need to nullify the radish. I just need to nullify the meat in it. But if I cut it, and said the Machaber further, the Machaber is of the view again that chanan is also only limited to a milk and meat, which means if the radish absorbs non-kosher lard, did the radish become chanan lard according to the Machaber? No. So I need to nullify the flavor that's absorbed in the radish.
Right, now it's not the knife.
And therefore it's only the knife.
It's not, it is the knife or it's not?
Then it is the knife. Because the knife determines the amount of flavor the radish will absorb. Because the radish will never absorb more than the size of the knife. Right? So it says, according to the Machaber then, whether you use a fleshik knife or you used a teif knife, you only need to nullify the size of the knife. Because nothing became chanan. Clear?
Yeah.
Is that clear, Yevon?
If you cut 10
Nullify
radishes,
the,
Sorry.
it'll still be one knife.
Say again?
You cut 10 radishes with the same.
Only be one knife.
Only
Correct. Correct. Because it'll never give more than it can. Than it has. Yes. What do you
That
say?
would be the same if it's strict.
Correct.
the knife wasn't used for meats, you're saying for the guy.
It was used for non-kosher stuff. Doesn't make a difference.
But
Because non-kosher meat is not usher by basar b'chalav.
yeah,
Right? Non-kosher meat is only usher because of non-kosher meat, not because of basar b'chalav. Right? So it's not going to be chanan. So according to the Machaber. Because Machaber is of the view that chanan is limited to milk and meat. No milk and meat in here. It's just radish absorbed in meat. Or radish absorbed in non-kosher. And therefore, all you need to do is nullify the flavor of non-kosher in there. And the size of the non-kosher flavor is determined by the size of the knife.
you don't have to cut off.
You should cut off. If you didn't, you have to nullify by the size of the knife.
Now, what's the difference between that and kosher knife with?
No difference according to the Machaber.
There's no difference.
Even, but even,
I'm making the point because in a moment, I'm going to disagree.
Even if it was a meat, knife, and cheese,
Okay.
it wouldn't be hanan.
Sorry?
Even if it was a meat, knife, and cheese and they're both cold, it wouldn't be hanan.
Okay. Well, I'm not going there, but it would be.
It would be?
Yeah. As long as it's determined by halacha that the two are absorbed of one, it becomes chanan. Whether it's through salting or whether it comes through pickling, whether it comes through.
Cutting?
What do you mean cutting? If you cut meat with a fleshik knife,
I'm saying you take a fleshik knife and you cut cheese.
you cut cheese.
It can't be hanan.
No, that becomes chanan.
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say. So
Wait, actually, maybe would cheese become chanan?
It's hot.
I don't know. Good
no,
question.
hot. I'm saying no heat.
I don't know.
Because
I'm going to reserve comment. Ben Yoima, let's match it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to reserve comment, but I don't want to go there. Let's
Yeah,
finish
fine.
the Siman and
Sorry.
let's finish the Sith because we have to get going. It's getting late already. Okay, now continues. Now says the Rama. If you cut the radish very small, okay, how much do you have to nullify?
Oh.
You have a non-kosher knife, and you cut the radish into tiny pieces with a non-kosher knife. Radish falls into your soup. How much do you have to have in your soup? Nullify what? What do you have to nullify?
Knife.
Just the size of the knife. What does the Rama say? If you use a non-kosher knife and you cut the radish very small, dice it up. So every part of the knife, every part of the radish is within the finger amount that you should have removed. But you didn't. You should have. And now you dump all those radish into your kosher pot. So how much did nullify according to the Rama? 60 to what?
The whole thing.
Tall them.
Why?
Because you cut it into such little pieces.
According to the Machaber, you don't have to. Why the Kotamah do you have to?
Because he
Point-
moves it against the part that's the removal.
Why?
Oh, because it becomes less and less as you cut?
No, I gave it before. Because there are laws of the view that Hanan applies even to other
Oh.
prohibitions. So as soon as that radish absorbed non-kosher from that knife, it itself became a source of non-kosher.
Mhm.
So every part of the radish that interacted with the knife and absorbed the tiniest amount from that knife became a source of non-kosher. And if that nullify not the flavor it absorbed, you got to nullify it.
So
Of
why
that
would he
piece.
so why would he bring the lesser case if that's the case? Why did he bring the stronger case?
Which one's the stronger case?
The stronger case would have been that the 60 would have to would have to nullify the entire thing.
That is. Because he cut it so thin,
No. No, so why did you have to say cut it so thin?
because that way every single part of the radish has,
Does he say that when you cut it and you remove the part, it would be okay? Or does he
Yes.
say the whole radish became chanan?
no. But let's explain. The Hanan only happens to the point of absorption.
I understand.
So
I
far,
understand that.
so we're going to see an opinion in a minute. But so far, all we know, how far does absorption go when you have knife plus sharp?
Okay, so you only
So
said
far.
that part that needed to be removed.
Oh,
That's
the only
okay.
part of the knife so far. We're going to get to a different opinion soon. But right now, the prevailing view is, before we introduce to a new view, right now the view is that it will only absorb to a kedinatila, to a finger width. So only a finger width of the radish became chanan. But in this case, you cut it up so thin that the whole thing became chanan because every single part of it was a finger width, part of the finger width.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking my question. Exactly why I'm asking my question. So he should have said,
Yeah.
in that I don't agree with the machaber. He needs to say, because I'm saying that since the finger width was not removed, it's not measured against the blade of the knife. It's measured against all the finger width.
That's what he's saying. It's precisely what he's saying.
No,
And
you
therefore
were
it can
saying-
nullify
you were
against the
saying-
whole-
You were saying he made it so small that you could never remove the finger width.
No.
He's saying you could not.
According to what's
You
that?
could not remove the finger width.
According to the Machaber and the Ramah, if you realize when you cut it up very thin before you dump it into your pot, what did you do with all those thin slices? According to the Machaber and the Ramah, you got to throw it out.
It's not that I don't understand. I'm asking, why doesn't he bring the stronger case?
I don't understand what you're
Why does he
asking.
bring the weaker case?
What's the stronger case? I don't understand what you're asking.
Stronger case would be, it needed, the Machaber is saying it needed to be 60 times the blade,
Correct?
okay? He should be saying, no, it's not 60, according to my opinion, it's not 60 times the blade. It's 60 times the part that was not removed.
That's what he's saying. Precisely what he's saying.
No, he's saying, here's a part that could not be removed.
No, you should have thrown it out.
You should have thrown it out.
Yes, and Machaber agrees you should have thrown it out.
Small. You cut it so small.
And Machaber agrees you should have thrown it out.
And the Machaber agrees?
Yes,
Yeah.
you should have thrown it out. But you didn't, and you put it into your kosher food now.
Right.
How much nullification do you need? That's what we're arguing about. Machaber and Ramah both agree this radish should have been thrown out.
Right.
Because every single part of it is a
Right.
kedenatila.
Correct.
Now it's dumped into your kosher food.
Right.
Machaber says, even though you diced it up tiny, I don't care, you only need 60 to the ratio of a knife.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, because you cut it up tiny, and every single one of those things was a part of the stuff you should have thrown out, you got to nullify all of them, because they all became chanan.
So you need 60 times the whole radish.
And in this case, they're for the whole radish.
I see.
Follow? Good. Okay, so let's continue now. But there is another
It's
point.
very different. That's a big
Yeah.
difference of opinion.
Massive. Let's see it now, a big difference. Now there's not that's one of this is one part of the machlekes here, which is if we assume we both agree that the absorption only goes a finger width, I say that finger width became chanan, and if you got to nullify the whole finger width if you accidentally put it into your kosher.
Right.
And you say you Machaber only say you only need to nullify the knife.
Mhm.
I'm adding now another problem I have with you. Which is like this. The yesh oimrim, now those that say if you use the non-kosher knife to cut the radish, it doesn't just go a finger width. It goes through the entire radish. So now in this view, I don't even need to cut it up so thin.
The second you cut it.
The second you cut it, the whole radish already became usher.
Right.
Which is why he brings that machlekes first, and now this machlekes. Because first he wants to say, even if I stick to your opinion that it only absorbs by a thumb, first of all, I think you got to nullify the whole thumb.
Right.
Because it's chanan.
Not just
B,
blade.
there's another opinion which says that even if I didn't cut it so thin, I disagree with how far it goes. You say it only goes so far as a finger, and I'm telling you it goes as far as the whole radish.
His opinion hasn't changed because his first opinion he said the whole radish you have to nullify. And his second opinion the whole radish you have to
exactly.
nullify.
The whole thing.
But he wanted to say, now you know why he brought this case. Exactly. He wanted to bring a case where even if I followed you in your first opinion, I would still nullify the whole radish. Even if I followed you that the absorption was only a finger width, I would still nullify the whole radish because of chanan. Because of chanan of shari sort of. Okay. Now continues. And therefore, the same thing would happen if you cut it with a fleshik knife. The entire radish become fleshik, and you can't eat any part of the radish with fleshik, not just the finger width. This is our opinion in the first instance. But post back to him, if you cut the radish in half, and it got dumped into your you cut the radish in half with a non-kosher knife, or you cut it with a fleshik knife and it got dumped into your kosher milchik dish, kosher milchik soup.
Ain
losarak denetila. You have to nullify 60 to the ratio of what you should have removed, in your opinion, machaber, which is a finger width. You don't need to nullify the entire radish, even though I think the whole radish became milchik. But not so far that you need to nullify the whole radish. You only need to nullify the finger width. Whereas you, machaber, would say you need to nullify even less, just the size of the knife.
1 second. He says it's chanan already. He says even without milking meat, without being treif, it's already chanan.
Well, it's not chanan, but it became no.
Factor,
That's no. Okay,
the same thing. I mean, if you had a sakin shel isur, right, and it touched the thing, so we understand.
If
His opinion is it becomes chanan. Then he says no, even if it's a fleshik knife.
No,
you
I'm
have to still consider the whole thing.
the fleshik is not that the whole thing became chanan,
No,
that the whole thing became fleshik,
ultimately, yes, okay.
right? But I don't have to nullify the whole thing. I only have to nullify the part that should have been removed.
Not nevel, so not chanan, it's not
Yes,
chanan,
correct.
But it affected the whole thing.
It did,
Just the same.
but only lechatchila. But the evid, I only have to nullify the part that I should have removed.
Right.
Right? Getting back to the first point. Okay. Now he said that I'm machaber ramavai tefachay. Like,
Why?
sorry?
Because he says with the other one, that's not the case. If it's a sakin shalis or no, then you would.
Same thing.
No,
Lechatchila throughout the whole.
no, but the evidence wouldn't have the same thing.
But the evid only nullify the part that should have been removed, whether it's sakin shel iser or it's basar.
I see.
Okay. But again, the machaber would say you only have to nullify the size of the knife.
Right, got it.
In any case. Okay, next halacha from the Ramah. Let's conclude this.
Mhm.
This is all if you cut the radish directly. But if you cut the leaves that are attached to the radish, and lochash, don't have to worry about it, even though there's some sharpness to those leaves, not strong enough to cause any problem. Next halacha. If I'm not sure if I used a non-kosher knife. I don't remember. So I was go lenient. Why? Because you have double doubt. Doubt number one is number one, is it even a non-kosher knife?
Mhm.
And B, most kalim aren't ben yoimai.
Okay.
So he said it's even a positive flavor. And therefore, if you're not sure if you used a kosher knife or not, it's all good.
So they said that it invigorates the flavor, no?
Sorry?
It wouldn't matter if it's ben yomo because of the invigoration.
Yes, that's correct. So here we're relying on too lenient to make too stringent to make a leniency.
Mhm.
In other words, if I wanted to say that the spice invigorates it, I have to rely on the opinion that's more stringent. Right? And therefore says that Amalach, and therefore koinimatz noinus shishbim chituchin let's and therefore we can buy radishes which are cut off at their edge. Because we assume that they were using their hammers and their sickles, whatever it is they used to cut radish. I'm not going to assume they used their kitchen knife, which they all cut their pig with, to cut the radish in the field. I'm not going to assume that. I assume that they used a regular other knife for radish. So it's a doubt. Did they use a kosher knife? Not a kosher knife. And because it's a doubt, lenient. But this is
You plug the same thing to a bar.
okay. Bar is a different story,
Where they
which
cut,
we
where
also
they cut lemons.
we spoke about that in our previous shirim.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it alone now. We spoke about it. If you go back to our other shirim, we spoke about it.
I missed that class.
Yeah, you'll have to go back to these tzaddik vav here. They go back to our
Similar.
CHAZZARAH L'maisa. We discuss it.
Mhm.
All right. If you only can find radish which are cut by a knife, not by these sickles, so you know it's used by a knife. Nonetheless, our customers buy it. It's fine. All you need to do is just to remove the edge where it was cut. That's all. And we spoke about that with regarding fish as well.
Mhm.
Okay, so we still have the rest of Tzaddik Vav and Tzaddik Zayin and Tzaddik Zayin, right? Okay, we'll have to see if I can squeeze in a share next week. Sunday, we're going to continue with Tzaddik Chas Tarawis. I don't want to fall behind. Maybe we'll try to get another share. No, sorry, Sunday I'm not here. So we'll watch the group. We'll post either Monday or Tuesday night. We'll do a share for
Also,
Tzaddik
you
Chas.
supposed to do
Second.
CHAZZARAH next week.
So maybe that's right. I'm not, as I mentioned off the record on camera, if you decide to do your test during your Pesach break, we're not going to hold it against you. Take your time. Sorry.
I got no words from that.
I know it's some of you told me, some people told me they did it and they did part of it, and kudos to them. But I understand it wasn't easy, and precisely for this reason, I decided to hunker down and give as many shirim as I can this week, so that way we can get as much reviewing as we can, and that way we can start and not fall behind. So maybe you're right. Maybe we'll pick up a Chazara later. Yeah, it would be worthwhile going back to the shirim and you'll refresh your memory of everything we learned.
Especially when this one.
Okay, wonderful.
Plan?
Sorry.
So what's the plan?
Plan is I'm going to post on the group
Monday.
on Monday, Tuesday night. We'll do the first shift for Tzaddik Ches going forward.
We're not gonna-
I would like to at some point, but I don't want to stop going forward. If we don't go forward, we're going to miss the schedule. I'm not going to finish on time. So I want to go forward. Even for this Chazar, I'm going to come back to it. Hopefully, sometime next week we'll find a day to do the rest of the Chazar. Yeah, before Pesach. Let's put it this way: we'll guarantee before Pesach we'll finish Chazar.
You do this and that, to not fall behind, but why?
Because this stuff we went through already. I say we went through all this already.
We went through it.
Yeah. But so maybe before Pesach, Mr. Shep will finish the Chazar.
Okay.
It's about nice. It's actually 15 days.
Okay, wonderful evening, everybody.
It's like so much easier. The new pillow.